Welcome to Cars on Call. I am automotive journalist Steve Schutz. I'm here with trauma surgeon Stephan Moran, and we have a guest coming, Jeff Bank. He's been here before, one of my partners, awesome car guy. But before we start the show, this is episode 63.
Well, I gotta say, welcome back. I mean, you took a week off. Come on, dude. You missed episode 62. You went 61 without a break. I missed several. So welcome back, Steve-O, from your vacation.
Thank you.
Deserved.
What'd you do?
Well
Anything
deserved.
cool?
Yes, I did. I definitely did. Before we get to that, we're gonna miss Adams. Adams is away this week, and he's already missed. He's in Europe. He's going to Italy, and Stephan, he's going to the Ferrari factory and stuff. I mean, he's missed. He's a great guy, but what the fuck? What is he doing over there?
Well, he's taking a much needed vacation with his wife, Marcia. He's out there gallivanting around.
He's retired.
Italy. Yeah, you're right. But, you have to. I'm retired, but I've got 4 part-time jobs. So there's no such thing as really retirement. The last time he was there, he's told a story that he bought a Dino, and I'm just hoping for Marcia's sake that he's not going to reverse the deal and leave Marcia this time and bring back another Dino, because he had to sell. He sold that car to get married. So
Wow. Smart man.
It's just seller's remorse, marriage remorse. No. But he keeps sending me things on cars and bids, some Mustangs. I'm like, what the hell, man? He should be cruising Roma Craigslist. And I'm willing to bet that Adams finds something over there that I know he's just scouring everywhere for a Dino. I know he is. And I bet you, I'm willing to bet he finds something.
It'd go well with his S2000 in the garage.
Yeah, he's gonna.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. He's friends with Gary Duncan, who we had on the show 2 weeks ago, and Gary Duncan brings cars over by the hundreds, and I'm sure Adams is thinking, hey, if he can bring over 100, I can bring over one.
Yeah, exactly. So have fun over there, Adams.
And he can pitch that to his wife as being much more reasonable.
Have fun, Adams. You're missed. Can't wait to have you back. So really quickly, I had like this peak car experience, and I'll go into more detail on a future show, but I'll say this. I was over East Coast. I was actually in New York at my medical school reunion, and I reconnected with a high school friend of mine, and he's got a couple Porsches that he'll let me drive. And one was a 1978 Porsche SC, a G-body SC that's been completely redone. It's a resto mod, but in the Porsche world, you don't call it a resto mod, you call it a Outlaw. So he's got this.
I love that name. I think that's way better than Resto Mod and Outlaw.
So cool.
And I love all the Porsche Outlaws. I think those are some of my favorites.
Yeah, I think so too. So it was perfect. The engine, brand new engine, just this wonderful, well-tuned, air-cooled engine, non-turbo, and then wonderful new transmission. Everything's brand new. Seats, everything went down to the metal. Yachting blue, one of the best drives I've ever had in my life. I fell in love with the car. And then he has a 993 Carrera RS, never imported to this country. And I drove that too. So for any Porsche fan, those cars were just incredible, and I had a great time. More on that later. But Stephan, on to you. You spotted a car, pretty cool, and you got a safety connection.
Not cool, guys, but hey, I spotted a car, so I'm coming. And listeners, this is the safety segment. And hey, while we're at it, remember to like, listen, subscribe, tell all your friends. But so I'm driving home from the hospital yesterday, and I look up and I see this 4-door, very nicely conditioned little 4-door. It looked like a Sentra, Nissan Sentra, and I get closer. It's got a dealer plate on it. I get closer, and on the left trunk it says TSURU. So it's a Nissan Tsuru. And I'm like, what the hell is this? So I take a picture of it, and I come home and I look it up, and it is actually the Mexican built version of the Nissan Sentra. And these were like, this is like in Mexico, there are more of these than there are Taco Bells in the United States, man. These things are everywhere. It's the best-selling car there, multiple years. Cops have them. People own them. 1.9 million Tsuru sold. All right, but here's the caveat. This was a shit box for safety. This was what was called a 0-star car. This thing is basically a death box. They built it in Mexico. And when they did that, it doesn't even have, up till 2017, didn't even have anti-lock brakes, no airbags, no traction control. And this was awarded a 0-star car. And this thing is responsible for 4,000 deaths from 2007 to 2012. I mean, this thing is, I can't even believe this thing could make, this one's probably an older one, but somehow it made it to America.
Hey,
And
Stephan, let me ask you a question. And I think this is a philosophical question, but, and maybe it's a point. When you compare that car to our cars, it's 0-star and it is a death trap. But isn't the point not to do that? Isn't the point to compare it to a scooter or a motorcycle?
yeah. So it's, this is the Mexican Day of the Dead one-way taxi, man. I mean, and here it is in America.
What?
The Mexican Day of the Dead one-way taxi. Yeah. Because that's a big holiday in Mexico. This is your one-way trip, buddy. You jump in this thing. So, finally Nissan got so much crap that they finally bowed up and stopped making the car in 2017. Okay. Even though this had been going on with the new car assessment program, no more, say no to 0-star cars. And the other two cars that make this honorable list, one comes from India, imagine that, and the other is a Chinese car. So what really bugged me was, here's this car that's got a dealer plate that's going to be sold to some poor person who has no idea. And listeners, this is what I've talked to you all the time about. We talked about when I had Jessica, my nurse practitioner, and I told her about the rear seats in her Telluride, that when you're buying a vehicle and you're buying a vehicle for, say, let's say your kid, your wife, or somebody else, just, you're down to 2 vehicles, take a look at the safety rating. You can go to IIHS, Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. You can go to NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Association, looking up the NCAP, which is New Car Assessment Program. Just take a look at these cars that you're going to buy. And, if it comes down to 3 cars, just think about the safety and who's going to be riding in it. But there's a video on YouTube that shows the Tsuru versus a Nissan. So the one with safety features, the one without. The Tsuru basically completely folds up in half. The Hybrid 3 crash dummy comes in, breaks his neck, smashes his face against the pillar, and the left front tire completely intrudes into the driver's cabin. I mean, it is a frightening crash. So I was like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. Then I looked it up and I'm like, that is totally uncool. So take a look at these videos, take a look at the safety ratings on your next car purchase, and you may save your life and somebody else's life that you love. But if you are in a wreck in these, you are losing out, Stephen. You're like, yeah, I might as well be on a Vespa scooter without a helmet.
So is this like a 4-door Nissan Dodge Viper with no traction control, no ABS? Is that what?
Yeah, it's a different version, different
But
time.
it is worth saying that again, a lot of we've all seen videos of families in the third world where you've got 4 people on a scooter, and this is certainly safer than that.
Yes.
But I'm glad it's
all relative. It's all relative. But
I'm glad they're no
here
longer,
in America, this car doesn't belong here.
Yeah. I'm glad they're no longer manufactured anywhere, it sounds like. So cool. We've got a bunch of topics we're going to get to. We're going to talk GM and Apple AirPlay. We're going to talk Audi in the future. They're making some changes, which I don't agree with. And then Car and Driver had 25 cars or vehicles worth waiting for, which we're going to get to with our guest, Jeff Bank, who's going to join us a little later. So, Stephan, GM is removing Apple CarPlay and Android Auto from all BEVs soon. They are going heavy, as we all know, into battery electric vehicles. And they are saying we're going to strip out Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Boy, does that seem dumb.
Tesla did it. Mercedes-Benz is going to move that direction. And I'm going to bring this up as a future safety segment, because what happens is this is adding to driver distraction. So the whole BEV thing, the whole touch panel thing, this actually has regulations on how long and how many steps it should take you to change your air conditioning temperature. And all these new big TFT screens, removing all the buttons, actually is worsening the issue of driver distraction. And I mean, we all know how to turn a knob without doing anything. If you've got to touch your TFT screen, do sliders. So what this is now doing, that GM is doing, is they're removing the interface that you already know. On your phone, you know how to do your GPS, you know how to do voice messaging, you know how to have it read your emails. If you do that in the car, you shouldn't. You know how to play your music. Now you're having to learn a new interface, and I think this is a terrible move from an automotive safety standpoint. And I think it's just gonna be a freaking pain in the ass. And I mean, I get in my car and it goes straight to CarPlay. My Mustang has a gorgeous screen, gorgeous GPS and all. I don't use any of that. But thank goodness the Mustang, even though it's got the big TFT screen, it's got a dial for volume, and it's got just a little lever you push up to increase the temperature, and you push it down to decrease the temperature. So I never have to go into my touch screen. The only thing I got to do on my touch screen on the Mustang is the steering wheel heater. Everything else is a button. So I think it's a bad move for safety. I think it's going to worsen the already issue that we have of driver distraction. And for consumers, it's all about choice. And this is all a data grab on GM's part. They want more data so they can sell your data. And then you're going to have to pay for the Spotify through your car or whatever. And just another reason you'll never see a GM vehicle in my driveway.
Yeah, it does seem like a money grab. They're going to set up some kind of subscription service. But the main
they had to
reason...
make up for OnStar, right? They copied
which nobody wants. Which nobody
the
wants.
OnStar option that you had to pay for that you could not do. So now what do? They screw you and say, all right, we're not going to charge you for OnStar anymore, but now we're going to take away your connectivity with your phone.
I think that sometimes any company, and it can be a company like Bud Light, you get into this bubble.
Let's not go there, man.
No, you get into this bubble, and I'm not going to pass judgment on Bud Light, but what I would say is you get into this bubble, and your bubble is really small, and you become unaware of people out in the real world, and real world customers, because so what I mean is, if you're the manufacturer, let's say GM, everybody you talk to works for GM, all your friends have GM cars, you're in this bubble. And you use the GM system because that's what you like, and then it's your company. You're kind of a homer that way, and you feel like Apple and Android are intruders into your world, and that's not the way people look at it on the outside. My son Patrick, who I've talked about before, he's a programmer. He's very into computers. He went to buy a car recently, and he looked at a Lexus, and Apple was not available in that particular year. He got a used car. That was it. It was 100% deal killer. He said, I will not buy a car that doesn't have Apple CarPlay. I think it's the same for that generation. Gen Z, millennials, I think this is a big deal, and they do not want to mess with a car that doesn't have real connectivity with their Android phone or their Apple. That's what I think that's what GM is missing. This is a deal killer. They
better have TikTok on there, because if they don't have TikTok on their GM app, man, that's the deal killer.
Well, and I look at it, when you have cars of different brands. To me, we have I just got a 2017 Porsche Macan GTS, and actually has CarPlay, but not Android Auto. And then on my list of things to do is to go add that down the road, because I have an Android phone, and it's such an intuitive system that it bugs me that I don't have it. But then the nice thing is that you jump between, say, my Miata or my wife's Audi, and it's Android Auto, and you know exactly what to expect between the two of them. And Stephan, that speaks to the safety point that, you get into one car, you get into another car, you know exactly how it's going to behave, and you don't have to adjust your behavior as far as, now this, just like driving different brands, how does this windshield wiper stock work between the two? That's frustrating when I hop in between multiple brands.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Your focus of attention, your focus of attention as a driver needs to be on the road. The road ahead of you and what's behind you, and not on figuring out the controls to get your favorite playlist to play on the damn thing, or to move your seat, or to change the HVAC on. Certain things just don't need reinvented. And I see, Tesla is a boutique manufacturer. They're now a real deal manufacturer, but they came in first to market truly making EVs, and their system, I think, is a little more is much more incorporated into the use of the vehicle than it would be on a General Motors product. But I can't. Yeah, I think it's a bad move.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. The most recent up-to-date tech I've ever experienced was I drove the new Mercedes SL recently, and just last week actually, and they have the new MBUX system, which is absolutely state of the art, very easy to use, but it easily integrates Apple CarPlay, and that's what pops up if that's what you want. I think that's where they should be. Everybody should be, and GM, I think, is making a mistake. So moving on. We got to talk Audi a little bit, and Audi had two concept cars that they introduced, concept vehicles. They're not cars. And I find them very interesting. First of all, one was a pickup. There's never been an Audi pickup. And the other was an Audi SUV. And I find both of those concepts interesting because Audi has always been, and by always, I mean, the last 30 years, nice interiors, elegant, understated design, quiet engines, not the best performance, but good performance. But this sense of elegance, technology, understated beauty. And that does not go with a pickup truck or an off-road SUV. So, Stephan, what's going on in Audi? And do you think they're being smart? Or are they being like GM and getting rid of the CarPlay, and they're shooting themselves in the foot here?
Well, I think, Audi is the what are those Russian dolls that stack up together? What are those things called?
The one sausage, three lengths. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. So Audi is the the cookie cutter, small, medium, large, extra large. They all look the same. But yeah, you're talking, I think, was it the Audi Active Sphere thing that turned to some kind of pickup hatchback? And it's like they're all trying to take the coupe to one next level. I don't know. I guess it has zero interest. I have zero interest in it. The other thing that kind of bugs me is they're going to do the Scout too, right? They bought the name. Isn't that Audi that bought the Scout name?
Well, it's Volkswagen Group. Yeah. I think that's going to be
Volkswagen Group.
That's going to be a separate thing. I think Scout is going to. Scout makes sense. I mean, the Scout brand has always stood for off-road and SUV type thing, and this is different for Audi. Jeff, you have a Q7. You like Audi, like us, like Stephan and I do. What is your thought about this?
We love my wife and I love our Audi Q7. It's a 3-row, enough room for the girls. It's safe. It's quiet, comfortable, elegant, understated, all the things that you said, Steve. And this, to me, with this active sphere concept that they have, I mean, they're trying to do maybe blend a El Camino and a Cybertruck and an active lifestyle all in one, and it just doesn't fit to me with what Audi means. It still looks semi-elegant more than either the Cybertruck or an El Camino ever did. But I look at it like, my wife keeps asking me, when's the next Q7 coming out? When is there going to be a Q9 to compete with the X7? And there's really nothing. And then Audi is focusing on this stuff that's this active lifestyle EVs, and it just doesn't make sense to me. It seems like Audi's lost their way, and I just think go back to what you're good at. We're driving around in Boise. I see Q7s everywhere, and I look at, they're well overdue for a redesign. They're not in this highly profitable, big 3-row SUV segment like BMW and Mercedes. And I think, you got to be there for just to fund the rest of your portfolio.
Well, this is their version. What's that GM Sierra where the back window thing folds down?
The Avalanche.
Avalanche.
Yeah.
Yes, this is like the Audi Avalanche, and look how well the Avalanche sold. I mean, that thing top heavy. It never sold well. I don't know. I think it's just. I don't think this thing will actually make it to production. I think it's just another.
Yeah, they had a concept about 20 years ago called the Steppenwolf, and it was basically a Audi TT lifted with 4-wheel drive. If you Google that, you'll see what I mean. That never made it to production. The very fact that we're having this conversation, and in the same sentence as Audi, Jeff, you said El Camino, and Stephan, you said Avalanche. That can't be good for Audi. You don't want to be that. Those are not the bedfellows you want.
No, and
No.
the Audi website here I just pulled up. It's just Adams, I think, could dissect this PR marketing here, but it says a fusion of performance, functionality, and elegance for fascinating outdoor adventures. And it's just there's
Yeah, right.
so many buzzwords here that I have no idea what they're saying.
Yeah, when was the last time you drive by a KOA campground and saw an Audi Q7 with somebody sleeping in a tent? Come on, give me
Actually,
a fucking
I've
break.
done we did that.
Come
I guess that was
on.
in our Mazda, but yeah.
Okay. When's the last time you saw a luxury SUV at the KOA campground? Okay.
Fair,
That's all you
fair.
need to know. Next topic.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't imagine someone's going to say, well, I can't decide if I should get the Bronco or the Wrangler, so I guess I'll get the Audi instead. I don't see this working. I hope that they're just maybe it's a misdirection ploy or something. But anyway, moving on from the future of Audi to the future of other cars. And
Sure.
Car Driver had a very interesting article, and they have this every year. 25 cars worth waiting for. I didn't find all 25 to be worthy of waiting. But they had some vehicles that were very interesting. And Stephan, I'm ready for a nuclear explosion from you, because one of the vehicles that they are saying is going to happen. This is not a concept. This is not the whatever active sphere. This is legit going to happen. A Ford Mustang Raptor, all-wheel drive, lifted very much like the Porsche 911 Dakar. Is this heresy, sacrilege, or both of them together?
Excuse me, a little nauseous. Okay, so all right. So in Alabama and in the South, I have seen several Fox body Mustangs jacked up with tires on them, and it is the biggest redneck looking piece of shit thing you've ever seen. And everyone, I mean, even the average redneck is somewhat offended by this. I mean, perhaps when they're running the meth, from neighbor to neighbor, they're using these things. But okay, rednecks have been doing this in the South for a long time.
Yeah.
It never caught on. And there's a reason it never caught on, because it's stupid. Okay. In America, if you want to go off-roading, it's stupid. I mean, it's just stupid. In America, if you want to go hauling ass off-roading, you're going to go buy one of those four-wheeler things that everybody's towing around these days that used to be hunting. I forget, razors and that kind of stuff. Okay. That's what people are going to do. That makes sense to me. You buy one of those things, you strap in your hospital. You're not going to be taking an $80,000 Raptor Mustang hauling ass through the backwoods Alabama. You think about it, maybe out west somewhere where there's no trees or bushes. Is not going to happen in the rest of the country. I mean, think about it. The Dakar is for desert racing, open wheel racing, like maybe the Baja 1000. There's, outside of a few places in the West, there's zero use for these vehicles in the United States.
Stephan, the Dakar is not for desert racing. The Dakar is for cars and coffee, and it's for going to dinner and going to Whole Foods. This is a poser car. It's not going to be used as quote unquote intended. This is like a Range Rover. It's got all its capability, and people are going to use it just like a normal Mustang. There's no chance of a Mustang Raptor going off-road, just like there's no chance of a Porsche Dakar going off-road. This is about show. It's not about go.
I'm really irritated. Can we just move to the next one? This has just got me so irritated.
Jeff, before we leave, Jeff, what do you think?
I think it's we have to Dakar or Safari edition everything now, and I don't see the purpose in this. I guess being from Wyoming, it's like, you're going to take this back on the dirt roads or go off roading, and it's just no. You're going to get a real pickup truck, a real SUV, and I don't think a Mustang Safari Raptor belongs at Cars and Coffee either. I just don't see where this fits in, and I think you could add all-wheel drive to a Mustang in a different fashion and make it more practical and less ostentatious, maybe less redneck.
Yeah, I guarantee if I show up at the Arley Cars and Coffee, we do have a car show once a year, and some really nice cars come out at my little town on Arley Day. You were to pull up in this thing, I mean, I don't even know if they'd let you in the lot. They would be laughing their ass off, I know. Just absolutely capital N-O. The Mustang Mach-E was enough of a sacrilege bastardization of the cherished and heritage Mustang name, but no, please no. Let's move on.
Yeah, keep
Before
that
we
as
move
your
on, I'm going to
all-wheel
ask you
drive.
guys a question. The answer for me is absolutely, and the question for both of you, and I'll start with you, Jeff, and I'll ask you, Stephan. Again, my answer is absolutely. The question is, will this sell?
100%.
What kind of volume you talking? Okay, 5,000 sales. All right, there you go.
Limited edition. Yeah, it will.
Yeah, I think it'll be limited edition. I agree, and I think people will buy them for $5,000 over sticker. How about that? Okay. We have one of the foundational vehicles of this car this show is the Toyota 4Runner. And as we've talked about ad nauseum, the 4Runner continues to sell. Toyota does not advertise it. They don't promote it. They certainly don't discount it, and they sell everyone they could make. It's a 20-year-old body on frame vehicle with an old naturally aspirated V6. Until recently, it was a 4-speed transmission. They finally took it up. I think it's 5 now. Unbelievable. So you can imagine why Toyota's been so hesitant to update it. Well, now it's being updated. It's moving to the Tundra platform, same platform as the Lexus LX 600. It's going to have a 4-cylinder engine. It will still be body on frame, but 4-cylinder engine. And they're saying maybe a V6 that's a turbo will be an option. But 4-cylinder, new tech 4Runner. Stephan, are you mourning, or are you happy, or don't care?
Well, I hate the 4Runner because it's so old. And if you think about it from a
effing runner, man.
Effing runner, man. They're everywhere, man. It's such a piece of shit. I mean, it's great for what it does, but it's okay. Why would you want to buy something that's 20 years old in terms of technology, as well as 20 years old in terms of construction for safety standpoint? It gets a moderate on the overlap fronter side. You break it down, it gets a poor on the structure and safety cage. And that makes sense. It's a body on frame construction. And for what it's used for, I think it's terrible. And finally, they're moving hopefully the safety cage will be better on that they move to the Tacoma. But yeah, I think finally, thank you, Toyota, for building a safer vehicle. That's one of your top sellers that you've been making profit on for years at the sake of broken legs and injured passengers. So good on them. Finally, Jesus.
Jeff. Yeah, I think the 4Runner is basically 14 going on 40 at this point. And I was looking at the sales figures. They were 120,000 units in 2022, which is actually down from 2021 of 145,000, but up from 80,000 in 2014, which just makes absolutely no sense as far as why something would keep selling so much later in life. But I think this modular body on frame platform that they're sharing with the Sequoia, the Tacoma, I think it'll make it better. I mean, if the Mustang Raptor is going to sell, this is going to continue to sell like hotcakes.
Yeah, and
the Tacoma does have a slightly better rating. It has acceptable instead of poor on several areas, so it's one step up, but it's nowhere near in line with the other SUVs currently in that size class market right now.
And hopefully the gas mileage will get above low double digits.
Yes, the gas mileage is going to be way better.
Yeah.
And presumably this will be just as stout and will last just as long as a 4Runner and the Tacoma. But what I would say about sales is that while it was down, 145,000 to 120, the only reason the sales on the 4Runner drop is that it's production constrained. If they made more, they would sell more. So if they made 145, they would have sold 145. That's the thing with those. But young people are psyched about them. But I agree with both of you. Going to a new frame, a new platform rather, is going to increase safety. And it's funny. I thought about all these vehicles differently, Stephan, since you talked about the Palisade and the Telluride, because rear seat child safety is something I kind of took for granted. Didn't know that they didn't test for it. Now they're testing for it. So I look at the 400 the same way. Hey,
Absolutely.
they need to update that, make the rear seat more safe for kids.
Yeah,
That's who's getting carted around in these things. Yeah.
Yeah, when we go to shop for our next SUV, I'll definitely be looking at that. And as of right now, our next SUV is not an Audi.
Get something bigger. So anyway,
Yeah.
Another vehicle that really caught my attention, and this does dovetail with things we've talked about in the past. This is the 2025 Ram 1500. That is the half-ton truck. It's called the Rev. It's a BEV with a gasoline range extender. Neither the F-150 Lightning nor the BEV Silverado from Chevy have a range extender. Is this a big deal, Stephan? To me, it's a big deal. What do you think?
Well, I'm all for hybrids, gasoline hybrids. I think America's just not ready for the EV. So this is going to be an onboard generator style BEV.
Yeah.
Sorry. So the gasoline motor turns on and then makes electricity, which then recharges the batteries, but it's not attached to the driveline. There's been several attempts at these gasoline extenders, and they just haven't caught on in the market as well as a true hybrid. I think it's an interesting concept. I'd like to know how many miles they're going to get with the standard battery, because say most hybrids, they run anywhere from 8 to 40 miles on pure electricity that you can charge overnight, and that works for a lot of people that do short trips to work. But you think about a pickup truck is a work vehicle. I mean, really, that now a lot of people just cruise around, like you said, as posers, but pickup trucks are made to work and pull things, haul things. And it'll be very interesting to see what kind of like towing capacity, payload capacity, mileage, and are you going to take this thing 400 miles running the gasoline extender the whole time to charge your batteries? It's an interesting concept. I'd have to learn a lot more about it, but my initial impression is it would have already been done. But I think the hybrid technology is just where it needs. Hybrid is, if you're going to go at all electric in a pickup, it needs the hybrid. To me, is a way to go, not a generator, onboard generator.
Yeah, and I watched a video on it, and I read that I think that it's about 500 miles or up to 500 miles range and up to 14,000 pounds of towing capacity, which both seem like large numbers for a 1500 Ram. And to me, the mirroring the electric and the gas makes sense with a truck, and that you get that because trucks, you want the low end torque for your, as a work vehicle, pull out tree stumps, do for your towing. And so to me, it makes a ton of sense. And it looked like the charging architecture for it was 800 volts, and it looked like they quoted receiving 110 miles of range in about 10 minutes, which is similar to the Chevy Silverado truck, which is pretty darn impressive. I mean, you actually got to have the charger working and available, which are two huge caveats. But I thought, overall, this seems like a great idea. One of my questions was, there has to be a TRX version coming down the road.
Yeah, sure.
So my name would be the E-Rex, similar to the E-Ray, like the new.
That sounds more like E-Rex. That sounds like a Pfizer commercial. So a lot of these vehicles are extenders. Matter of fact, I've ordered an extender, a Cobra 427. But yes.
Where did we get here? Anyway, oh my gosh. For all of the reasons that Jeff just mentioned, I also think it's a really good idea. I think this is something, sometimes you're better off not being first to market. And I think that given our conversation with Gino Effler from JD Power just a few weeks ago, where he talked about the problems, 20% of chargers out in the wild don't work. And some areas or some charger stations is worse than that. So given the uncertainty of the infrastructure, how nice is it that you don't have to worry about it? You've got that range extender. You just fill it up with gas. If there's no chargers, and let's face it, you're out in the middle of nowhere, there's not going to be a charger. Or if you're towing, if you're towing especially, you really lose range. How nice to have a gasoline powered range extender. You fill it up with gas and you can get and tow wherever you want to go.
Sure. Or you live in rural America, like we're Idaho, Wyoming, Alabama, all places that we are from or where we live.
Yeah. And oh, by the way, the range extender will allow you to have a smaller battery pack, and that will make more batteries available and also shave weight. So that's a good thing too. So yeah, I think it's better than the Silverado or the Lightning for that reason. But a lot of people are still going to be hesitant to buy a battery electric vehicle. Commuter car, sure. Battery electric truck, I don't know. Anyway, moving on to truck. Of course, anytime you think truck and SUV, you immediately think Corvette. Oh my gosh! Like if it's a sacrilege to have a Raptor Mustang, certainly, Stephan, it's a sacrilege to have not just one Corvette SUV. They're talking about basically a Macan size and a Cayenne size Corvette SUV.
Well, they can't sell them when they put a Cadillac badge on it. So I guess they figured, what the hell? Let's slap a Corvette badge, see if we can increase sales. But I think, I don't know. GM to me has seemed a lot kind of lost their sense of direction here in the last couple of years. But they made the move from front engine to mid-engine Corvette. Big move. I mean, it was time to happen, but I still miss the old Corvette. I think diluting this brand, it's not a brand, diluting the Corvette, the model, further by now slapping an SUV badge on it. But I guess Ford showed them that it worked on the Mustang Mach-E. The next generation doesn't really care. They do like the name Corvette, so I'm sure they've done all the marketing analysis, and Ford did it. But I don't like to see it, and I'm sure if we had one of us was a GM diehard fan, like I am a Ford guy, they would be having the exact same conversation. You could just substitute Ford for Chevy in this conversation. They wouldn't like it either.
Jeff, your dad's a Corvette guy. What do you think? What do you think he would think?
So I've talked to him about it. He actually isn't overly offended by it, and which was a little surprising to me. I mean, he's got a C7. He's hesitant on the C8 because of the lack of a manual. But to me, looking at this Corvette wanting to build their brand, I mean, you look at how much money Porsche's made hand over fist on the Macan and the Cayenne, and me being one of their customers with the Macan, I think that Corvette has to do something like this. And looking at this is it's on the Alpha platform, which was what the CT4 and 5V Blackwing are on. I mean, Car and Driver said that there's only been one Alpha platform car that hasn't made it to their 10 best list. So looking at the underpinnings, the engines are all there. I think it'll perform. I think it'll sell well. I think, unfortunately, I think it makes sense in our current market with everyone and their dog wanting to drive an SUV and sitting up higher. I see it being a runaway success, but hopefully they'll be able to use their funds from the SUV to further the quote real Corvette platform further, much like Porsche's done with the 911 and the Cayman, and fund the Zora and ZR1, everything else that they have coming out for the Corvette.
Yeah, I mean, Lamborghini came out with the Urus, and then everybody thought, oh my God, Lamborghini making an SUV. But hey, this is where it's headed, and this is the future of the automotive industry, and it's going to sell. I mean, just because I don't like, I think it's a great idea marketing. They're going to sell every one of these things. It may be the death of Cadillac if they increase Corvette as a brand, because who knows long term. But I don't like it. But I think it's absolutely the direction that GM needs to go, and they're going to sell every one of these things. But it'll just kind of pain me to see a Corvette badge, just like the Mustang. It'll just pain me, but that's where we are in today's automotive landscape.
I have a bunch of thoughts on this, and I actually I'm okay with it. I actually am good with it, because I think just like Porsche with their Cayenne and their Macan, that not only did it not subtract from the brand, it added to the brand. And as Jeff said, the success of those SUVs enabled them to come up with some pretty great cool variants of the 911 and the Cayman. So I think it's good. I think that it will not dilute the brand. I think it's not going to hurt them. I think it will only help them. I'm more troubled by going to a mid-engine Corvette. That bothers me more because just like the 911 is always rear engine, it's not going to be a 911 if it's not rear engine. Well, the same with the Corvette. It was always front engine. It should have stayed front engine. So I think that was a mistake. But the two Corvette SUVs I think are not a mistake. I have been very critical of GM for a bunch of decisions. Number one, not coming out with a Blazer to compete with the Jeep Wrangler and the Bronco. I think that would have been very successful, would have made them money, it would have made their fans happy. And I think they're really kind of rushing into BEV without either hybrids or developing and maintaining their internal combustion engine. So I think a lot of the mistakes they made, I've criticized before. This one I don't think is a mistake.
I think the only manufacturer left who doesn't have an SUV is McLaren at this point, is what it seems like.
They're working on one.
I without a doubt.
So, okay. Before we wrap up, there's a little information, a little tidbit. Stephan, you said something a couple episodes ago when we were talking about Q1 sales, and you said you don't think it's going to be long before the Ford Bronco overtakes the Wrangler. And I agreed with you, because if you buy a brand new Wrangler, you're going to have, like, in your subdivision, there's going to be like 10 other ones. And every time you drive down the road, I mean, your hand's going to get tired because you're supposed to do this Jeep wave to everybody. But there's tons of Jeeps out there. Bronco, you stand out. It's different. It has all the capability, and it looks cooler. It's fresh. It's new. It's nice. Well, guess what? You're right. Q1 Bronco sales are finally, now that they're able to get their production bottlenecks solved. Q1 Bronco, 32,000 Broncos sold in Q1 of 2023 versus the Wrangler, 38K. And by the way, Q1 of 2022, the Wrangler sold 46,000. So the Bronco is definitely eating into the Wrangler. I think it'll be Q2, Q3, Stephan, when the Bronco overtakes and passes the Wrangler.
Well, it's nice to be right about something, because I'm sure as hell never am at home.
You're right all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but no, I think it's, when you look at the Wrangler versus the Bronco, it's even fitting more of that poser image, and it's everything that people want in that style vehicle. And it's a step above in terms of probably handling NVH and all that. So you're right. You're talking about the Wrangler wave. We have the Arley wave. So if you drive a pickup truck in Arley, Alabama, and the surrounding area, you always drive with just one hand on the top of the rim. And when you see another truck driver, somebody else in a pickup truck, you raise your index finger up in the air like that. That's it. It's the Arley wave in a pickup truck. So
do you ever take your index finger down then?
Yeah. Every other vehicle is a pickup truck down here, that's for sure. But no, they're going to surpass them, and Jeep needs to think about it, how they're going to do something with that model to keep from preventing further cannibalization, because that's one of their biggest money makers. So they got to shake that money maker and do something with it.
Yeah, well, there's a redesign for 2024, I think, with a new grille. And I don't think it's quite enough to catch up to Bronco, but they're at least doing something, much like Toyota's doing something with the 4Runner. Finally.
Well, we had my neighbor James Steele on talking about his Bronco ordering and waiting saga, and he loves his Bronco. It was worth the wait. He's a very happy customer, and I think as long as that's the way customers are, the word of mouth gets out and people say, yeah, I waited, but I'm really, really happy with it. I think that's going to boost their sales. I think they're going to continue to do really, really well. And Stephan, I'm very curious, in Arley down the road from now, maybe a couple of years down the road, what kind of wave will it be when one Mustang Raptor passes another?
Yeah, there'll be some tobacco spit on your windshield. That's what'll happen. Yeah, there'll be a big loogie right smack in your windshield. That ain't happening, man.
I'm going to make a prediction here. We'll see what happens. Obviously, the Raptor's down the road, the Mustang Raptor, but I'm going to make a prediction. I think when all of us see it, we're going to say, damn, it looks pretty cool. And I think we're going to end up liking it.
It's going to look cool from a 8-year-old boy Tonka trunk kind of coolness. You know, it's a Tonka truck. You know, that's the kind of thing that it evokes. But
isn't that a good thing?
Yeah, I guess so. Not just change the badge is all I got to say.
I thought with all this talk about like the 4Runner, the Wrangler, all these dated SUVs, I think about Nissan and how and Steve, you said Chevy missed the boat with the Blazer, but Nissan missed the boat with the Xterra. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. I just scratching my head here. But.
I completely agree. Nissan could have come out with an Xterra. It was always a decent, kind of a cheaper Toyota 4Runner. And it was very successful. This would have been 20 years ago, 15 years ago. I don't know if you guys remember their ad campaign. Their ad campaign was genius. Everything you need, nothing you don't.
It had the first aid kit in the back. I remember that. It bumped out. And,
it was stripped. It was cheap on the inside, but they made that a virtue by saying everything you need, nothing you don't. In other words, anything that's not there is just a frill, something your parents would want, that kind of thing. Jeff, you are absolutely right. If Nissan had come out with an Xterra, it would have been a big seller. It would have been very successful.
Yes.
So
they were cool when they came out. They're different.
Yes, it was different and kind of tough and had a good reputation. And the reputation stands. If they were to come out with it again, I think it would succeed. So we are basically out of time. Stephan, before you wrap us up, let us just say, Adams, wherever you are in Italy, have some pasta and red wine for us and enjoy Ferrari. We missed you, buddy.
And I can't wait to see the Dino. Just bring back Marcia along with the car, Adams. That's all I got to say. Just don't leave her there. But bring that Dino back. And listeners, thanks for tuning in again. Like, listen, subscribe. We're on YouTube now. We got little short takes. So if you don't have a long off time to listen off 50 minutes, you can get some of the clips, and maybe my Mexican Day of the Dead clip may pop up on YouTube. But, all right, man. Thanks for joining us, Jeff. And we'll see you guys next week.
Happy to.